Hey guys, it is Monday, the 23rd of March, and I don't know about you guys, but I am losing my mind. I'm losing my mind being trapped in the house. I'm losing my mind trying to figure out all of this stuff with the computer and getting Microsoft Office set up. I created new notebooks today, so if you have not been able to see your notebook or the things in it, try again tonight, and hopefully this time everything will sync the way it's supposed to and everything will be worked out. So this week we are going to kind of wrap up our American history unit, and we will be going into Europe around the end of the week and next week. And next week, we're going to have, the plan is to have 2 different group time videos. So upper elementary and lower elementary will go back to having a little bit of variety between their group times, and Mr. Mark is going to be resuming that role for 4th and 5th grade, so he should be posting some videos for 4th and 5th graders to watch, and I will be continuing with the lower elementary class. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit today about women in history. March is Women's History Month, and unfortunately, we didn't get much time to talk about it. It's been crazy. We've had floods, we've had snow, we've had quarantines, and all kinds of things are going on. So I'm not going to do it justice, but we are going to do kind of a quick study on it. And hopefully next year we will be able to spend more time. So in 1848, at the historic meeting in Seneca Falls, New York, Elizabeth Cady Stanton declared that all men and women are created equal. So up until this point, women were thought of differently. Now, of course, women have always been important. Without women, we wouldn't be able to increase the population. We wouldn't be able to have babies. And so for many years, women were to stay home, take care of the house, take care of the kids, cook, clean, all that good stuff. And even for a long time, the education of women was not seen as important or necessary. There were people who thought that women were not as smart as men, and of course we know that's not true. And women really have had to fight for years to get to where we are today and have the right to be whatever profession we want to be as educated as we want to be, to get equal pay for doing the same job as a man, and to have the right to vote. Originally, we were not even allowed to own land, so we've really come a long way. But Elizabeth Cady Stanton, I'm going to write her name for you. Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Elizabeth Cady Stanton. And she was at a meeting in New York in 1848, and she was saying, you know what? Just because we're women does not mean we're not as important as men. And so, yes, it says in our Constitution that all men are created equal. Men meaning humans, not just men of the male gender, but men meaning humans in general. And so Elizabeth Cady Stanton and a bunch of other women who were involved in advocating for women, which means to stand up for women and help them get their rights and all of those things, said women are created just as equal as men. Now, of course, men and women have different strengths and different weaknesses. For example, our bodies were created scientifically a little bit different. We have different parts of our body. Also, women typically have stronger legs and men have stronger upper bodies. And that's because women have the babies and usually men do the heavy lifting. So our bodies were created a little bit differently, but that doesn't mean that one is better than the other, and it doesn't mean that one is smarter than the other. So from that time on, thousands and then tens of thousands of people joined the movement for women's rights. They focused much of their effort on woman suffrage. Now, this isn't suffer like to suffer in pain or to be in agony. Suffrage meaning the right to vote. And it's spelled like this. Suffrage, not suffrage, suffrage. So women's suffrage was to get them the right to vote. But they also worked to end various forms of discrimination against women and to open opportunities long closed to them. In mid-19th century America, meaning the 1800s, not only were women barred from voting, but once they got married, they lost most of their property rights. Whatever a woman owned became the property of her husband. Most women couldn't attend college, and those who entered the workforce encountered low pay and few opportunities for advancement. So that would basically mean that as soon as you got married, anything that belonged to you now belonged to your husband, didn't belong to you anymore. And you belonged to your husband as well. It meant that those women who did have a job, and those jobs would mostly be maybe teaching, maybe nursing, maybe cleaning house, things like that. They were not paid a fair wage, and they also didn't get opportunities to move up. So whereas, like for example, with teaching, maybe you would start as an assistant teacher, and then if you do a really good job with that and you keep studying and learning, you might move to be a lead teacher. And then if you wanted to further your career, you could become a director or a school principal. And then from there on, you can still move up and you can work for administration, making rules, determining how schools are going to run. And then eventually maybe you could be a superintendent, which would be over the whole school district. It's a little different for a private school. We don't really have a whole district. And then you could even keep going and you could work for the Board of Education for the state or for the national government and help make those laws and rules that drive our education these days. But then the women really weren't given opportunities like that to move up in their career. The mid-19th century attitude toward women can be summed up in the cliche, "A woman's place is in the home." Most Americans of the time unquestioningly accepted the idea of separate spheres of activity for men and women. So that means at that time, most people, that's just the way it was. They didn't question it. They didn't fight it. A woman's place was in the home. A man's place was at work. And that's the end of the story. That's just the way that it was. In the decades following the Civil War, as the nation grew more urban and more industrialized, women's lives began to change. More women started attending college, while many others joined the industrial workforce. So more women are getting out there as we have our industrial revolution, and after the Civil War, our cities are growing. We talked about the other day the Industrial Revolution and having more need to produce goods and items. So more women are going out and kind of getting a job opportunity or taking it upon themselves to go to college. What do you need?
Yeah, get me some ice water.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to press pause so that I can get her some water, and I'll be back shortly.